This story is a work of fiction, created for entertainment purposes only. All characters, events, and situations are entirely fictional. Any resemblance to real people or real events is purely coincidental. I spent 57 years learning how to take care of myself. I raised 2 kids alone after my divorce. I worked double shifts to pay for their college. I survived breast cancer at 43. I thought I had seen enough to know when something was wrong. I thought age meant wisdom. I thought being older made me safer. I was completely wrong. And that mistake almost cost me everything in a country where no one knew my name. Egypt was supposed to be my gift to myself. After decades of putting everyone else first, I finally had time and money to do what I wanted. I booked the ticket 6 months in advance. I read every travel blog. I watched every documentary. I told my kids I was fine going alone. I told myself the same thing. I wanted to prove I was still strong, still independent, still capable of adventure. I wanted to stand in front of the pyramids and feel like I had earned that moment. I packed light, planned everything, and felt proud. I felt ready. But there is a kind of danger you cannot prepare for by reading reviews or memorizing safety tips. There is a kind of predator who does not look for weakness in your body. He looks for it in your mind. He waits for you to smile when you should walk away. He counts on you being polite when you should be rude. He bets on your confidence turning into carelessness. And I gave him every single thing he needed without even knowing it. What happened in Cairo was not random. It was a trap I walked into step by step, and by the time I realized it, I was already too far from safety to scream. Before we continue, please comment below what city you are watching from. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like. My name is Margaret Collins. I am 57 years old. I live in a small town outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. For 30 years, I worked as a nurse in a pediatric hospital. I have seen children die. I have held parents while they collapsed. I have made decisions in seconds that determined whether someone lived or not. I thought that kind of experience built armor. I thought it made me unshakable. I thought wrong. I got divorced when I was 32. My husband left me for someone younger. It hurt, but I did not have time to fall apart. I had a 6-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. I worked every shift I could get. I missed soccer games. I missed school plays. I bought secondhand clothes and cooked the same meals every week to save money. My kids never went hungry. They both went to college. They both graduated. They both have good jobs now. They call me every Sunday. I am proud of them. I am proud of what I built alone. When I turned 55, I started thinking about myself for the first time in decades. My daughter was married. My son had just gotten engaged. I had saved a little money. Not much, but enough. I started looking at places I always wanted to see: Paris, Rome, Tokyo. But Egypt kept pulling me back. I used to watch documentaries about the pyramids when my kids were little. I would sit on the couch after they went to bed and imagine walking through ancient temples. It felt impossible back then. It felt like something only rich people or young backpackers could do. But I was not young anymore, and I was not rich, but I was free. And that felt like enough. I told my kids I was going. My daughter immediately started worrying. She sent me articles about scams in Cairo. She told me I should book a guided tour with a big company. She said I should not go alone. My son agreed with her. He offered to come with me, but I knew he could not afford it. He was saving for a wedding. I told them I appreciated their concern, but I was fine. I was a grown woman. I had survived worse than a vacation. I laughed when I said it. They did not laugh back. I booked my flight in February. I was leaving in September. I had 7 months to prepare. I bought a guidebook. I joined online travel groups for solo female travelers. I read hundreds of posts. Most of them were from women in their 20s and 30s. They talked about hostels and street food and making friends in bars. I did not want any of that. I wanted something quiet. I wanted to see the pyramids, the Sphinx, the Egyptian Museum. I wanted to take my time. I wanted to feel like I had finally done something just for me. I decided I would not book a full package tour. Those cost thousands of dollars. They put you on a bus with 30 other people and rush you through everything. I wanted freedom. I wanted to walk at my own pace. I found a small hotel in downtown Cairo with good reviews. It was cheap. It was clean. It was close to the metro. I booked it for 10 days. I felt smart. I felt like I was traveling the right way. The flight left on a Thursday night. My daughter drove me to the airport. She hugged me for a long time before I went through security. She told me to call her every day. She told me to keep my phone charged. She told me not to trust anyone. I smiled and nodded. I thought she was being dramatic. I thought she did not understand that I was not some naive college kid. I was a 57-year-old woman who had worked in emergency rooms. I knew how to read people. I knew when something felt wrong. I was sure of it. The flight was long. 14 hours with a layover in Frankfurt. I barely slept. I was too excited. I kept looking out the window even though there was nothing to see but darkness. When we finally started descending into Cairo, the sun was coming up. I could see the city spreading out below me, brown and beige and endless. It looked nothing like North Carolina. It looked exactly like I imagined. I got through customs without any problems. I exchanged some money. I bought a SIM card for my phone. I felt capable. I felt prepared. I took a taxi to my hotel. The driver did not speak much English, but he was polite. He did not try to overcharge me. He dropped me off right at the entrance. I tipped him well. Everything felt normal. Everything felt safe. The hotel was small but nice. The man at the front desk spoke perfect English. He checked me in quickly. He gave me a map of the city. He circled the major tourist sites with a pen. He told me to be careful with my belongings. He told me not to accept help from strangers on the street. He said it in a friendly way, like he was just giving standard advice. I thanked him. I went up to my room. The room was simple. A bed, a dresser, a small bathroom. The air conditioning worked. The sheets were clean. I dropped my suitcase on the floor and sat on the bed. I felt a wave of emotion I was not expecting. I started crying. Not sad tears. Relieved tears. Proud tears. I had made it. I was in Egypt. I was alone and I was okay. I texted my daughter a photo of the view from my window. She responded immediately. She told me she loved me. She told me to be safe. I told her I would. I slept for 3 hours. When I woke up, it was early afternoon. I was starving. I showered, changed clothes, and went downstairs. The man at the front desk recommended a restaurant 2 blocks away. I walked there slowly. The heat hit me the moment I stepped outside. It was dry and heavy. The streets were loud. Cars honked constantly. People shouted to each other across the road. I loved it. It felt alive. I ate grilled chicken and rice. I drank cold hibiscus tea. The food was simple and good. I paid and left. I walked around the neighborhood for an hour. I did not go far. I just wanted to get a feel for the area. I saw a pharmacy, a small grocery store, a few cafes. I saw families sitting outside their homes. I saw kids playing soccer in the street. It felt normal. It felt safe. That night, I planned my next day. I wanted to see the pyramids. I looked up how to get there. I could take the metro and then a taxi. Or I could book a private car. Or I could join a group tour. I decided I would figure it out in the morning. I was tired. I went to bed early. The next day, I woke up at 6. I got dressed and went downstairs. The same man was at the front desk. I asked him how to get to the pyramids. He told me the metro was easy, but taxis were safer for tourists. He offered to call one for me. I said yes. He made a phone call. He told me the car would be there in 20 minutes. He told me the driver was his cousin. He said I could trust him. I believed him. The driver arrived exactly on time. He was young, maybe 30. He smiled a lot. He spoke decent English. He told me his name, but I forgot it immediately. He asked me where I was from. I told him North Carolina. He said he had a cousin in New York. He asked if I had been there. I said yes a few times. He nodded like that made us connected somehow. I did not think anything of it. He drove carefully. He pointed out landmarks as we passed them. He told me stories about the city. He seemed nice. He seemed normal. When we got to the pyramids, he told me he would wait for me. I asked how much. He said we would settle it after. I hesitated. He smiled and said he was not going anywhere. He said his uncle owned the taxi. He said he did this every day. I believed him. I got out of the car. Standing in front of the pyramids was everything I imagined. I took photos. I walked around. I hired an official guide for an hour. The guide was professional. He explained the history. He answered my questions. He did not try to sell me anything. When the hour was over, I thanked him and paid him. I walked back to the parking area. The driver was waiting exactly where I left him. He smiled when he saw me. He asked if I had a good time. I said yes. He said he was happy for me. He asked if I wanted to see the Sphinx up close. I said I had already seen it. He said there was a better view from a different spot. He said most tourists did not know about it. He said it would only take 10 minutes. I was tired, but I said okay. That was my first mistake. He drove away from the main tourist area. I noticed it immediately. The crowds disappeared. The souvenir shops disappeared. The road became narrower. I asked him where we were going. He said it was close. He said it was a local spot. He said I would love it. I felt a small knot in my stomach, but I ignored it. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself he had been perfectly polite all morning. I told myself I was fine. We drove for another 5 minutes. The area became quieter. There were fewer people on the street. The buildings looked older. Some of them looked abandoned. I asked again where we were going. He said we were almost there. He smiled at me in the rearview mirror. I did not smile back. The knot in my stomach got tighter. He pulled over in front of a small shop. It was a carpet store. He turned off the engine. He said his brother owned it. He said I should just take a quick look. He said I did not have to buy anything. He said it would be rude not to say hello since we were already there. I said I was not interested. He said it would only take 2 minutes. He was already getting out of the car. I sat there for a moment. I did not know what to do. I did not want to be rude. I did not want to cause a scene. I got out of the car. The shop was small and dark. There were carpets hanging on the walls and rolled up on the floor. A man appeared from the back. He was older, maybe 50. He smiled wide. He shook my hand. He said, "Welcome." He said his brother told him I was visiting from America. I looked at the driver. I had not told him I was from America. I had told him North Carolina, but I had not used the word America. I felt cold despite the heat. The older man started pulling carpets off the wall. He spread them on the floor. He talked fast. He said they were handmade. He said they were authentic. He said tourists paid triple for the same quality in the markets. I said I was not interested. He ignored me. He kept talking. He said his family had been making carpets for generations. He said I had a good eye. He said I looked like someone who appreciated quality. I said I needed to leave. He said just 1 more minute. The driver was standing near the door. He was not smiling anymore. He was just watching. I realized I did not know his name. I realized I did not have his phone number. I realized the front desk man had called him, not me. I realized I had no way to call another taxi. I realized I did not know where I was. My phone was in my purse. I thought about looking up my location, but I did not want them to see me doing it. I did not want to show fear. The older man was talking about prices now. He said he could give me a special deal. He said normally this carpet cost $800, but for me only $300. I said no. I said I did not want a carpet. I said I needed to leave. He looked confused. He looked hurt. He said I did not even ask the price. He said I was being disrespectful. I felt my chest tighten. I was 57 years old, and a stranger in a dark shop in a country I did not know was calling me disrespectful. I looked at the driver. I said I wanted to go back to my hotel. He said we would go soon. He said I should just look at one more carpet. I said no. I walked toward the door. The older man stepped in front of me, not blocking me exactly, but close enough that I would have to push past him. He said I was being rude. He said his brother brought me here as a favor. He said the least I could do was listen. I felt my hands start to shake. I was not angry. I was scared. I said I did not ask to come here. I said I wanted to see the Sphinx, and instead I was in a shop I never agreed to visit. I said I was leaving. I pushed past him. He did not stop me, but he said something in Arabic to the driver. The driver nodded. I walked out of the shop. I stood on the street. I did not know which direction to go. There were no signs in English. There were no taxis. There were no tourists. There were just a few men sitting outside a cafe across the street. They were staring at me. The driver came out. He did not look friendly anymore. He said I was being difficult. He said he was trying to help me. He said his brother was insulted. I said I did not care. I said I wanted to go back to my hotel now. He said fine. He unlocked the car. I got in the back seat. He got in the front. He did not start the engine. He sat there looking at his phone. I asked what he was doing. He said he was checking something. I said I wanted to leave. He said in a minute. I looked at my phone. I opened the Maps app. I tried to see where I was. The signal was weak. The map was loading slowly. I saw we were far from the pyramids. We were far from downtown. I did not recognize any of the street names. My heart was pounding. I thought about getting out of the car and walking, but I had no idea where to walk. I thought about calling my daughter, but I did not know what I would say. I thought about screaming, but there was no one around who would help me. He finally started the car. He did not say anything. He drove in the opposite direction of where we came from. I said he was going the wrong way. He said this was a shortcut. I said I did not want a shortcut. I said I wanted to go back the same way we came. He ignored me. He turned down another street, then another. I had no idea where we were. I could feel panic rising in my throat. I said, "Stop the car." He did not stop. I said it louder. He said I needed to calm down. I said I wanted to get out. He said I was overreacting. He said he was taking me back to the hotel. He said I was being disrespectful to him and his brother. He said Americans always acted like this. I felt tears in my eyes. I was not crying because I was sad. I was crying because I was terrified, and I did not know what to do. He pulled over suddenly. We were on a side street. There were apartment buildings on both sides. Laundry was hanging from balconies. A few kids were playing in the street. He turned around and looked at me. He said the ride cost $100. I stared at him. I said we had not agreed on a price. He said that was the price now. He said if I did not like it, I could get out and find my own way back. I thought about it. I thought about getting out and asking someone for help. But I did not speak Arabic. I did not know who to trust. I did not know if the people on this street would help me or ignore me or worse. I opened my purse. I had cash. I had about $200 in Egyptian pounds. I pulled out the equivalent of $50. I said, "This is what I am paying." He laughed. He said that was not enough. He said I wasted his time. He said I insulted his brother. He said 100 or I could walk. I gave him 75. It was all I was willing to give. He stared at the money. He took it. He did not say thank you. He started driving again. I did not say anything. I just watched the streets. I tried to memorize turns in case I needed to remember how to get back. I did not trust him to actually take me to the hotel. I thought he might drive me somewhere else. I thought he might try to scare me into giving him more money. I kept my hand on the door handle. He did take me back. It took 40 minutes. He did not speak the entire time. When we pulled up in front of my hotel, I got out before he even stopped completely. I did not say goodbye. I did not look back. I walked straight into the lobby. My legs were shaking. I went up to my room. I locked the door. I sat on the bed. I tried to breathe normally. I called my daughter. She answered on the second ring. I told her I was fine. She asked how the pyramids were. I said they were beautiful. I did not tell her what happened. I did not want her to worry. I did not want her to say, "I told you so." I did not want to admit that I had made a stupid mistake. We talked for 10 minutes. She told me about her day. I pretended to listen. When we hung up, I cried for real. I stayed in my room the rest of the day. I ordered food from the hotel restaurant. I did not go outside. I kept thinking about the carpet shop. I kept thinking about the driver's face when I said no. I kept thinking about how easily I had gotten into that car. I kept thinking about how I had ignored every single warning sign because I did not want to seem paranoid or rude. That night, I could not sleep. I kept replaying the whole thing. I kept thinking about what could have happened. I kept thinking about how far I was from anyone who knew me. I kept thinking about my kids and how they would never know what happened if something went wrong. I felt stupid. I felt old. I felt like I had proven everyone right who said I should not travel alone. The next morning, I forced myself to go out. I did not want to waste my trip hiding in my room. I took the metro to the Egyptian Museum. I kept my bag close. I did not make eye contact with anyone. I did not smile. I did not accept help. I walked fast. I stayed in crowded areas. I felt exhausted before I even got there. At the museum, I hired an official guide again. I stuck close to her. I did not wander off. I did not talk to anyone else. When the tour was over, I went straight back to the metro. I went straight back to the hotel. I felt relieved when I locked my door again. I realized I was not enjoying this trip anymore. I was surviving it. On my third day, I decided to try again. I wanted to see Khan el-Khalili, the famous market. I had read about it in my guidebook. I had seen photos. I wanted to buy souvenirs for my kids. I took the metro again. I found the market easily. It was massive. Hundreds of stalls. Thousands of people. The noise was overwhelming. Vendors shouted at me from every direction. They grabbed my arm. They pulled me toward their stalls. They said special price just for me. They said I had a beautiful smile. They said, where was I from? I said no thank you over and over. They did not stop. I was looking at scarves when I noticed him, the same driver from the pyramids. He was standing across the narrow street. He was staring at me. I felt ice in my veins. I turned away. I started walking fast. I did not look back. I pushed through the crowd. I did not care if I was being rude. I just wanted to get away. I turned down a different alley. I kept walking. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought I might pass out. I do not know if he followed me. I did not stop to check. I walked until I found an exit. I got in a taxi. I told the driver to take me to my hotel. I did not care what it cost. I just needed to leave. When I got back, I went straight to my room. I locked the door. I pushed the dresser in front of it. I knew it was irrational. I knew he did not know where I was staying. But I did not care. I was terrified. I did not leave my hotel for 2 days. I told myself I was just tired. I told myself I needed rest. I ordered room service. I watched Egyptian television even though I could not understand it. I scrolled through my phone. I looked at photos my daughter posted of her garden. I looked at photos my son posted of his fiancée. I felt so far away from them. I felt like I had made a terrible mistake coming here. On the 5th day, I knew I had to do something. I could not spend the rest of my trip hiding. I had paid for 10 days. I had dreamed about this for years. I was not going to let one bad experience ruin everything. I decided to book a real tour, an official one, with a company, with other people. I went downstairs and asked the front desk man if he could help me. He said, of course. He made a phone call. He said there was a tour leaving tomorrow morning to see the temples in Luxor. It was a full-day trip. It included a guide, transportation, and lunch. It cost more than I wanted to spend, but I did not care anymore. I just wanted to feel safe. The next morning, a van picked me up at 6. There were 8 other tourists, an older couple from Germany, a young couple from Australia, 3 women from Japan, and a man traveling alone from France. Everyone was polite. Everyone seemed normal. The guide was a woman in her 40s. She was professional. She spoke 5 languages. She made jokes. She explained everything clearly. I started to relax. The drive to Luxor took hours. I sat by the window and watched the desert go by. It was beautiful in a harsh way, empty and endless. I thought about how small I was, how far I was from home, how no one around me knew anything about my life. It should have felt freeing. Instead, it felt lonely. We stopped at a rest area halfway there. Everyone got out to use the bathroom and buy snacks. I bought a bottle of water and some crackers. I stood outside in the sun and checked my phone. I had a text from my daughter. She asked how I was doing. I told her I was great. I told her I was seeing amazing things. I did not tell her I had barely left my hotel room in 2 days. I did not tell her I was scared. When I came out of the rest area, I saw him again. The driver from the pyramids. He was standing near a parked car. He was talking to another man. He looked up. He saw me. He smiled. Not a friendly smile. A knowing smile. I felt my stomach drop. I walked quickly back to the van. I got inside. I locked the door. I told myself it was a coincidence. I told myself Egypt was not that big. I told myself I was being paranoid. But my hands were shaking. The guide got back in. She did a head count. Everyone was there. She started the van. I looked out the window. He was still standing there. He was watching the van. I turned away. I stared at my lap. The German woman next to me asked if I was okay. I said yes. I said I was just tired. She smiled kindly. She said the heat could be exhausting. I nodded. I did not say anything else. We arrived in Luxor around noon. The temples were stunning. Massive columns, detailed carvings, history everywhere. The guide explained the stories behind each section. I tried to focus. I tried to be present. But I kept looking over my shoulder. I kept scanning the crowds. I kept expecting to see him. I did not see him. But I could not shake the feeling that he was there. During lunch, I sat with the 3 Japanese women. They were kind. They asked me questions about North Carolina. They told me about Tokyo. They showed me photos of their families. I smiled. I answered their questions. But I was not really there. I was thinking about the carpet shop. I was thinking about the market. I was thinking about the rest stop. I was thinking about how he kept appearing. I was thinking about whether it was random or if he was following me. After lunch, we visited another temple. This one was smaller, but just as beautiful. The guide gave us 30 minutes of free time to explore on our own. I stayed close to the group. I did not wander. I took a few photos. I sat on a stone bench in the shade. I felt exhausted. Not from walking, from fear. A man approached me. He was young, maybe 25. He said he was a local guide. He said he could show me secret areas the official tours did not cover. He said it would only cost $20. I said no thank you. He said I was missing out. He said most tourists did not get to see the real history. I said no again. He asked where I was from. I did not answer. He asked if I was alone. I stood up. I walked away. He did not follow me, but I felt his eyes on my back. When the 30 minutes were over, I was the first one back at the meeting point. The guide smiled at me. She asked if I enjoyed the free time. I said yes. I lied. She said we had one more stop before heading back to Cairo. I nodded. I just wanted the day to be over. The last stop was a small museum. It was quiet. There were only a few other tourists. I walked through the exhibits slowly. I looked at ancient jewelry. I looked at pottery. I looked at statues of gods I did not recognize. I tried to care. I tried to feel something other than fear. I could not. Outside the museum, I sat on a bench and waited for the group. The Frenchman sat down next to me. He asked if I was enjoying Egypt. I said it was interesting. He said he had been coming here for years. He said it was his favorite country. He said the people were kind. He said the history was unmatched. He said he always felt safe here. I did not say anything. He asked if something was wrong. I said no. He did not believe me. He said if I ever felt unsafe, I should stay in public areas and call the police. I looked at him. I said thank you. He nodded. He did not ask any more questions. The drive back to Cairo was long. It was dark. Most people slept. I could not. I kept thinking about what the Frenchman said. I kept thinking about how I had not called the police. I kept thinking about how I did not even know if what happened to me was a crime. I kept thinking about how stupid I felt. We got back to the hotel around midnight. I thanked the guide. I went up to my room. I took a shower. I got into bed. I stared at the ceiling. I thought about going home early. I thought about changing my flight. I thought about admitting to my kids that they were right. I thought about how humiliating that would be. I thought about how much money I had already spent. I thought about how I only had 4 days left. I thought I could survive 4 more days. The next morning, I woke up to someone knocking on my door. I was not expecting anyone. I did not order room service. I looked through the peephole. It was the front desk man. I opened the door. He said there was a man downstairs asking for me. My heart stopped. I asked who. He said he did not know. He said the man said he was my driver. He said the man said I left something in his car. I said I did not leave anything. I said I did not want to see him. The front desk man looked confused. He said the man seemed very insistent. I said I did not care. I said to tell him I was not here. He said, "Okay." He left. I locked the door. I pushed the dresser in front of it again. I sat on the bed. I tried to think. I tried to figure out what to do. I thought about calling the police, but I did not know what I would say. I thought about calling my daughter, but I did not want to scare her. I thought about leaving the hotel, but I did not know where I would go. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was a local number. I did not answer. It rang again. I did not answer. It rang a third time. I turned off my phone. I sat there in silence. I felt trapped. I felt like every decision I made was wrong. I felt like I was losing control. I stayed in my room all day. I did not eat. I did not shower. I just sat on the bed and stared at the wall. I turned my phone back on once to check if my kids had called. They had not. I turned it off again. I did not want anyone to reach me. I did not want to explain. I did not want to admit how scared I was. That night, I finally accepted the truth. I was not safe. I did not know if the driver was actually dangerous or just annoying. I did not know if he was following me or if I was seeing him by coincidence. I did not know if I was overreacting or if my fear was justified. But I knew I could not stay here anymore. I knew I needed to leave. I turned on my phone. I looked up flights. There was one leaving the next afternoon. It was expensive to change my ticket, but I did not care. I booked it. I felt a wave of relief so strong I started crying. I was going home. I was giving up. I was admitting defeat, but I was going to be safe. I packed my suitcase. I set an alarm for 6 in the morning. I planned to leave the hotel early, go straight to the airport, and wait there until my flight. I did not care if I had to sit there for 8 hours. I just wanted to be somewhere public, somewhere with security, somewhere he could not find me. I tried to sleep. I could not. I kept hearing noises in the hallway. I kept thinking someone was trying to open my door. I kept thinking about what would happen if he somehow got into my room. I kept thinking about how no one would know. I kept thinking about how far I was from anyone who could help me. At 5 in the morning, I gave up on sleep. I got dressed. I checked my suitcase one more time. I looked around the room. I felt a mix of relief and shame. I was leaving. I was running away. I was letting fear win. But I was alive, and that was all that mattered. I opened my door slowly. The hallway was empty. It was quiet. Most people were still asleep. I pulled my suitcase behind me and walked toward the elevator. Every step felt too loud. I kept looking behind me. I kept expecting to see someone. I did not see anyone. I pressed the button. The elevator took forever to arrive. When the doors finally opened, I got in quickly. I pressed the button for the lobby. The doors closed. I exhaled. When I reached the lobby, it was empty except for a different man at the front desk. Not the one I knew, a younger guy. He looked half asleep. I walked past him toward the exit. He did not say anything. I pushed open the glass door and stepped outside. The air was cool. The sun was not up yet. The street was quiet. I looked around. I did not see the driver. I did not see his car. I felt a small bit of relief. I started walking toward the main road to find a taxi. My suitcase rattled on the uneven sidewalk. I walked fast. I kept looking over my shoulder. The street was empty. Just a few stray cats and closed shops. I reached the main road. There were a few cars passing by, but no taxis. I stood there and waited. My heart was pounding. I kept thinking he would appear. I kept thinking this was a mistake. I kept thinking I should go back to the hotel and wait until later. But I did not move. A taxi finally appeared. I waved at it. It did not stop. Another one passed. It did not stop either. I felt panic rising. I needed to get out of here. I needed to leave now. A third taxi slowed down. I stepped into the street. I waved both arms. It stopped. I opened the back door. I threw my suitcase in. I got in. I said airport. The driver nodded. He started driving. I looked out the back window. I did not see anyone following us. I did not see the driver's car. I started to breathe a little easier. The taxi driver asked me which terminal. I told him international. He nodded again. He did not try to talk to me. I was grateful. I just wanted silence. I just wanted to get there. The drive took 30 minutes. The sun was starting to come up. The city was waking up. More cars on the road. More people on the sidewalks. I watched it all pass by. I thought about how excited I was when I arrived. I thought about how different I felt now. I thought about how badly I wanted to be home. We arrived at the airport. I paid the driver. I did not wait for change. I grabbed my suitcase and walked inside. The terminal was already busy. Families with children, business travelers, tour groups. I felt safer immediately. I found my airline counter. I got in line. There were at least 20 people ahead of me. I did not care. I just stood there and waited. While I waited, I turned on my phone. I had 3 missed calls from the same local number. I deleted them. I had a text from my daughter asking how my day was going. I did not respond. I did not know what to say. I put my phone back in my purse. When I finally reached the counter, the woman asked for my passport and ticket. I handed them over. She looked at my ticket. She said my flight was not until 1 in the afternoon. She said I was very early. I said I knew. I said I wanted to wait here. She did not ask why. She checked me in. She gave me my boarding pass. She told me my gate number. I thanked her. I walked toward security. The line for security was long. I did not care. I stood there with my suitcase and waited. I kept scanning the crowd. I kept looking for his face. I did not see him. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself he had no reason to come to the airport. I told myself I was safe now. But I could not stop looking. I made it through security. I found my gate. It was empty. My flight was still 7 hours away. I sat down in a plastic chair. I put my suitcase next to me. I stared at the departures board. I watched the time change minute by minute. I felt exhausted, but I could not sleep. I could not relax. I just sat there and waited. An hour passed, then 2. The gate area started to fill up with people. Other flights were boarding. Announcements echoed through the terminal. I bought a bottle of water from a vending machine. I bought a bag of chips. I was not hungry, but I needed to eat something. I had not eaten since yesterday morning. I forced myself to finish the chips. They tasted like nothing. Around 10 in the morning, I saw him. He was walking through the terminal. The same driver, the same face. He was looking around. He was searching for someone. My entire body went cold. I stood up. I grabbed my suitcase. I walked fast in the opposite direction. I did not look back. I did not know if he saw me. I just needed to move. I found a bathroom. I went inside. I locked myself in a stall. I sat on the toilet with my suitcase in front of me. I tried to breathe. I tried to think. I did not know what to do. I did not know if he was actually looking for me or if he was there for someone else. I did not know if I was losing my mind. I did not know if this was real or if I was imagining things. I stayed in that stall for 20 minutes. I heard women come in and out. I heard water running. I heard hand dryers. I did not move. I just sat there and tried not to cry. Finally, I forced myself to stand up. I unlocked the stall. I washed my hands. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked terrible. My eyes were red. My hair was a mess. I looked like exactly what I was. A scared old woman who made a stupid mistake. I left the bathroom. I walked carefully back toward my gate. I stayed close to the walls. I kept my head down. I did not see him. I sat down in a different section of the gate area. I put my suitcase between my legs. I pulled out my phone. I called my daughter. She answered immediately. She said, "Mom, is everything okay?" I said yes. I said I just wanted to hear her voice. She asked if something was wrong. I said no. I said I was just tired. She said I sounded weird. I said I was fine. I said I would call her when I landed. She said okay. She said she loved me. I said I loved her too. I hung up. I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to tell her I was scared. I wanted to tell her I was at the airport hiding from a man who might not even be looking for me. I wanted to tell her I felt stupid and old and completely out of my depth. But I did not say any of that. I just said I loved her and hung up. 3 more hours passed. I did not move from my seat. I did not go to the bathroom. I did not buy food. I just sat there and stared at the gate. People came and went. Flights boarded. Announcements were made. I did not pay attention to any of it. I just waited for my boarding time. Finally, at 12:30, they called my flight. I stood up immediately. I was one of the first people in line. I handed my boarding pass to the gate agent. She scanned it. She smiled. She said, "Have a nice flight." I nodded. I walked down the jet bridge. I found my seat. I sat down. I put my seatbelt on. I closed my eyes. People kept boarding. The plane filled up. I did not look at anyone. I just kept my eyes closed and waited for the doors to close. I waited for the plane to push back from the gate. I waited to feel safe. The flight attendant made the safety announcement. I did not listen. The plane started moving. I felt tears on my face. I was crying, and I did not even realize it. The woman next to me asked if I was okay. I said yes. I said I was just emotional about leaving. She smiled. She said she understood. She did not understand anything. The plane took off. I felt it lift into the air. I felt the ground disappear below me. I opened my eyes. I looked out the window. Cairo was getting smaller, the buildings, the roads, the desert, all of it disappearing. I was leaving. I was escaping. I was going home. The flight was 14 hours. I did not sleep. I did not eat. I did not watch movies. I just sat there and stared at the seat in front of me. The woman next to me tried to talk to me a few times. I gave short answers. She eventually stopped trying. I was grateful. When we landed in Frankfurt for my layover, I stayed in my seat until everyone else got off. Then I walked slowly to my next gate. I had 3 hours to wait. I bought coffee. I sat down. I stared at nothing. I thought about Margaret Collins, 57 years old, who thought she was strong enough to travel alone. I thought about how wrong I was. My second flight boarded on time. This one was shorter. Only 8 hours. I had a window seat again. I watched the ocean below. I thought about how much water separated me from Egypt now. I thought about how I would never go back. I thought about how I would never tell anyone the whole truth about what happened. When we finally landed in Charlotte, I felt something break inside me. Relief. Shame. Exhaustion. Everything at once. I collected my suitcase. I went through customs. I walked out into the arrivals area. My daughter was there waiting. She saw me. She smiled. She ran over. She hugged me tight. She said, "Mom, you look exhausted." I said I was. She said, "Let's get you home." I nodded. I could not speak. If I spoke, I would cry. And if I started crying, I would not stop. My daughter drove me home. She talked the whole way. She told me about her week. She told me about her husband's new job. She told me about their plans to renovate the kitchen. I listened. I nodded. I said things like, "That's great and I'm happy for you." But I was not really there. I was still in Cairo. I was still looking over my shoulder. I was still hearing that driver's voice saying $100 or you can walk. When we pulled into my driveway, I felt something loosen in my chest. My house. My small, simple house that I bought after the divorce. The house I raised my kids in. The house where I knew every sound and every corner. I was home. I was safe. My daughter helped me carry my suitcase inside. She asked if I wanted her to stay. I said no. I said I just needed to sleep. She hugged me again. She said, "Call me tomorrow." I said I would. She left. I stood in my living room for a long time. I looked at my couch, my coffee table, my bookshelf. Everything exactly where I left it. Nothing had changed. But I had changed. I did not know how to explain it. I did not know if I would ever be able to explain it. I took a shower. The water was hot. I stood under it until it ran cold. I got dressed in my own clothes. I climbed into my own bed. I thought I would fall asleep immediately. I did not. I lay there staring at the ceiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. I saw the carpet shop. I saw the market. I saw the airport. I could not make it stop. I did not sleep that night, or the next night, or the night after that. I was exhausted, but I could not sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every car outside made me think he had followed me. I knew it was irrational. I knew I was safe, but my body did not believe it. My daughter came over 3 days later. She brought groceries. She made me lunch. She asked about Egypt. I told her it was beautiful. I told her the pyramids were incredible. I told her the food was good. I did not tell her about the driver. I did not tell her about hiding in the bathroom at the airport. I did not tell her I came home 4 days early. She noticed I looked tired. She asked if I was feeling okay. I said jet lag. She believed me. My son called a few days after that. He asked how the trip was. I gave him the same answers. Beautiful. Incredible. Amazing. He said he was proud of me for going alone. He said not many people my age would do that. I said thank you. I felt sick saying it. I felt like a liar. But I could not tell him the truth. I could not admit that I failed. I could not admit that everyone who warned me was right. Weeks passed. I went back to my normal routine. I went to the grocery store. I went to my book club. I went to church. People asked about Egypt. I showed them photos. I told them stories about the pyramids and the temples. I left out everything else. They said I was brave. They said they could never travel alone like that. I smiled. I said it was easier than it seemed. I was lying to everyone. I was lying to myself. 2 months later, I was at the grocery store. I was in the produce section picking out apples. I felt someone standing too close behind me. I turned around. It was just an older man reaching for oranges. He was not Egyptian. He was not the driver. He was just a normal man shopping for fruit. But my heart was racing. My hands were shaking. I left my cart in the aisle and walked out of the store. I sat in my car and cried. That night, I finally admitted the truth to myself. I was not okay. I had not been okay since I got back. I was scared all the time. I was jumping at shadows. I was avoiding crowds. I was canceling plans. I was becoming someone I did not recognize, and I could not keep pretending it was fine. I called my daughter the next day. I told her I needed to talk. She came over immediately. We sat on my couch. I told her everything. I told her about the carpet shop. I told her about seeing him at the market. I told her about the airport. I told her about changing my flight. I told her I had been lying for 2 months. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she hugged me. She said, "Mom, why didn't you tell me?" I said because I felt stupid. I said because you warned me and I did not listen. She said that did not matter. She said what mattered was that I was home and I was safe. She convinced me to see a therapist. I did not want to. I thought therapy was for people with real problems. I thought I was just being dramatic. But I went. The therapist was a woman in her 40s. She was kind. She did not judge me. She said what I experienced was trauma. She said it was normal to feel the way I was feeling. She said I was not stupid. She said I was not weak. She said I was a survivor. I cried in her office. I cried for the entire hour. I went back every week for 3 months. Slowly, things got better. I started sleeping again. I stopped jumping at every sound. I started going back to my normal routines. But some things never went back to normal. I never traveled alone again. I never will. I thought that would feel like giving up. It does not. It feels like accepting reality. It feels like choosing safety over pride. My biggest regret is not that I went to Egypt. My biggest regret is that I ignored every warning sign because I was too proud to admit I was vulnerable. My biggest regret is believing that my age made me safe. My biggest regret is thinking that being polite was more important than being cautious. My biggest regret is not trusting my gut the moment I felt uncomfortable. I learned something in Egypt that I wish I had learned earlier. Experience does not make you invincible. Age does not protect you. Being kind does not mean being naive. And saying no does not make you rude. It makes you smart. It makes you safe. It makes you someone who respects their own instincts more than a stranger's expectations. I am 57 years old. I survived cancer. I raised 2 kids alone. I worked 30 years in a hospital saving lives. I thought that made me strong enough for anything. I was wrong. Strength is not about what you have survived. Strength is about knowing your limits. Strength is about asking for help. Strength is about admitting when you are scared. If I could go back, I would do everything differently. I would book the expensive tour. I would stay in tourist areas. I would say no the first time I felt uncomfortable. I would leave the carpet shop immediately. I would call my daughter from the hotel and tell her I was scared. I would not have been too proud to admit I made a mistake. But I cannot go back. I can only move forward. And I can only hope that someone else reads this and makes better choices than I did. Egypt is still beautiful. The pyramids are still incredible. The history is still worth seeing. But none of it is worth your safety. None of it is worth ignoring your instincts. None of it is worth proving something to yourself or anyone else. Travel is wonderful. Adventure is important. But coming home safe is more important than anything else. I do not regret going to Egypt. I regret how I went. I regret the choices I made. I regret the warnings I ignored. And I regret that it took me 57 years to learn that being careful is not the same as being afraid. Being careful is being smart. Being careful is being honest with yourself about the world and your place in it. Being careful is choosing to live rather than choosing to prove a point. That is my biggest regret. And I do not want it to be yours. I still think about Egypt almost every day. Not the pyramids, not the temples, not the history I traveled so far to see. I think about the moments I ignored my instincts. I think about the times I chose politeness over safety. I think about how close I came to something much worse than fear and exhaustion. My daughter asks me sometimes if I regret going. I tell her no. I regret how I went. I regret believing I was too old to be a target. I regret thinking that confidence could replace caution. I regret every single time I said yes when I should have said no. I see women my age planning solo trips all the time. I see them in travel groups online. I see them posting photos from around the world. I do not tell them not to go. I tell them to be smarter than I was. I tell them to trust their gut before trusting a stranger. I tell them that no tour, no photo, no experience is worth the fear I still carry. My son got married last year. At the reception, someone asked me about my trip to Egypt. I gave my short version: beautiful country, amazing history, glad I went. My son looked at me from across the table. He knows the real story now. My daughter told him. He did not say anything. He just gave me a small nod. He understood why I still could not tell the whole truth to strangers. I went back to therapy last month. Not because I was having panic attacks again. Just because I needed to talk. My therapist asked me if I had forgiven myself yet. I said I was working on it. She said that was enough. She said healing is not linear. She said some lessons cost more than others. She was right. I volunteer at a women's shelter now. I talk to women who survived domestic violence. I talk to women who escaped trafficking. I talk to women who made mistakes and paid for them in ways I can barely imagine. I tell them my story, not the short version, the real version. I tell them about the carpet shop and the airport bathroom and the 2 months I spent lying to everyone I loved. I tell them I understand shame. I tell them I understand fear. I tell them they are not alone. One woman told me last week that my story helped her leave her situation. She said if a 57-year-old woman could admit she made a mistake and still survive, then she could too. I cried when she said that, not sad tears, grateful tears. My biggest regret turned into something useful. It turned into something that might save someone else. I am 59 now. 2 years have passed since Egypt. I sleep better. I go out more. I stop jumping every time someone stands too close in line. But I am different. I will always be different. I am more cautious. I am less trusting. I say no without apologizing. I leave situations that feel wrong without explaining myself. I choose safety over adventure every single time. Some people might think that is sad. Some people might think I let fear win. I do not care what they think. I am alive. I am home. I am surrounded by people who love me. That is not fear winning. That is me winning. If you are watching this and planning a trip, I want you to hear me clearly. Go. Travel. See the world. Experience things that scare you and excite you. But do it smart. Do it safe. Do it with people you trust or companies with reputations. Do not do it alone just to prove you can. Do not ignore warnings just because you think you are too old or too experienced to be a target. Do not choose politeness over safety. Ever. Your instincts exist for a reason. Listen to them. That uncomfortable feeling in your stomach is not paranoia. It is your body telling you something is wrong. Trust it. Leave. Run if you have to. Apologize later if you were wrong. But survive first. At 57, I thought I knew everything. I thought I had seen enough to handle anything. I was wrong. And my biggest regret is not admitting that sooner. Do not make the same mistake I did. Do not let pride or excitement or the desire to prove something put you in danger. It is not worth it. Nothing is worth it. Travel smart, stay safe, come home. If this story helped you or made you think twice about your own travel plans, please leave a comment below. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel for more real stories from real people. And remember, adventure is beautiful, but safety is everything. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself. Always.